So as election process nears completion, South Africa is getting closer, as I indicated, to knowing who will form the 7th administration. SABC News is, of course, still giving you that rolling coverage here at the Results Operations Centre, with some parties contesting the results and allegations of vote rigging. Let's bring in now SABC News political reporter Canny Maphanga, who is here on the floor for us at the National Results Operations Centre in Midrand. Of course, Canny, the Section 55 objections, several parties, have asked for condemnation. In other words, they missed the deadline for objections and basically want to be heard. Talk us through that.
Well, good morning once again to you, Criselda, and to the viewers at home. Of course, when you speak of Section 55 of the Electoral Act, you're speaking about the objections, which allows you to object between the 9 p.m. of 29th of May, which was what election day, or when the voting should have stopped on election day, and then gives you the deadline of the 31st of May, that is 48 hours after, at 9 p.m. Now, we know that in this election, it was quite an overwhelming election, hotly contested election. There were a number of new contenders, and we did see that in the first day following the election date that the results slowly trickled in, so they weren't coming as fast as one would have hoped. So in order to have those kind of objections, one would argue that you would need to see a clear picture of the results, which would explain why some opposition parties only tabled those objections after the deadline. So now, if you miss the deadline, what you will do is ask for condemnation from the IEC, and it will be the IEC then they will make that determination regarding those objections.
Right, Canny, and certainly I guess we'll hear from political parties in the next couple of hours. We're expecting the EFF also on the ground. I'm also getting news that Mmusi Maimane might also be here in a couple of moments. Let's see if indeed that does happen. But I guess we'll get a clearer sense from these political parties in the majority about their overall thoughts of the election, and I guess what the next steps will be in the next couple of days. But I certainly foresee at this particular point going to the courts.
Absolutely, Criselda. If you look at the declaration, well, they have 7 days to declare those results. That is the IEC. Then after that declaration is made, I think there's 14 days for a new government to be formed. And in the most dramatic conclusion, if that is not done, then it would result in the costly exercise of having to do these or rerun these elections, which is probably not an outcome that these opposition parties are hoping for. Now, we know that in the top 3 results, it's the ANC, the DA, and the MK party. The DA has already outlined that the number one loyalty or commitment is to the multi-party charter. That is the pre-election pact that was designed to unseat the governing party. Now, we know they are meeting today, and we understand that a number of demands are going to be made by those opposition parties. You can expect some expecting some cabinet posts. You can expect some of those expecting key positions in the National Assembly, but of course they'll elaborate further. Those are the kind of discussions that we expect to be happening on the ground in between that MPC meeting. But a lot is going to take place before we can get to that moment. As you can see, it's not a small amount of objections. A number of opposition parties are contesting the results. But remember, if you are going to go to court, one would argue that you would have to show a material difference. That is, you have to elect the discrepancy rather to the overall election outcome and show that you were unfairly prejudiced or your voters were disenfranchised. Those are some of the arguments that you would have to present to a court to be successful. As we've seen now, I think some political parties are waiting for that final completion of those results to make an informed legal position as to whether they can contest or produce a dispute of this election. And of course, as we continue to give you rolling coverage, we are expecting the IFP leader, Mr. SABC, to come through today, as well as EFF leader Julius Malema to come through today to reflect on those results. These are political parties that have seen their positions change in the political landscape as we've seen these new formations come in and claim their spots in the top 5 of political parties in the country. But as I've stated, we'll continue to update you closely as we continue to monitor the National Results Operations Center as we head towards the conclusion, or rather the declaration of those election results. Over to you, Crisalda.
Well, Canny Maphanga, thank you very much indeed.